to the Schools Education Minister, Peter Garrett. He's speaking at the Mary MacKillop College in Sydney. The Prime Minister is also at this function and may well step up shortly after him.
Yeah, I had a bit of a look at how you were doing as a school. And I do want to tell you, as the Minister for School Education, that you are doing really well. So a big congratulations for the effort that every student at this school is putting in, and a big congratulations to not only the Principal Narelle, but to her staff as well. Once you walk inside the school gate is the teacher. And we know that effective, committed, dedicated teachers can make a fantastic impact on you as you learn. And I know the Prime Minister is going to talk about that a little bit more. In fact, it's my pleasure to be introducing the Prime Minister, the Honourable Julia Gillard. And I should say, Prime Minister, that you were the School Education Minister, amongst other things, before you took up this current role. And you've always had a great passion for education. And education sits right at the middle of what we want to do as a government. And I quite often say to students when I visit their schools, and there's about 3.5 million of you around Australia, if you want to realise your dreams, those things which in your heart are so important to you, whatever they are, and even as Chris says, if you haven't quite made up your mind about what you want to do, you will be able to do it. You will be able to realise your dreams on the foundation of a strong education. Now, values are important, and that's an important part of your learning experience here. But I can tell you, as the Minister for School Education and the Minister for Youth, that for any young Australian, the connecting point between them is absolutely direct one. The connecting point between how well a student can achieve and their results is the teacher. So it's a great pleasure to be here at Mary MacKillop. Congratulations on your NAPLANs. Narelle, I think you're going really well. And for the warm welcome that the Prime Minister and Chris and I have received. But it is the Prime Minister who has made education absolutely a central priority for this Labor government. And on that note, I do want to now introduce warmly, please make welcome the Honourable Julia Gillard, Prime Minister of Australia.
Thank you very much to Peter for that introduction, and if I could thank Chris Hayes too, your local member. Narelle spoke to you about us being in a room of feisty women, and I can tell that we are in a room of feisty women and girls. But I do want to say for Chris Hayes, your local member, he's quietly spoken, but he's certainly a very strong advocate for your community in Canberra. So it's always great to join him at a local event, and it's always great to be with Peter Garrett in a school. I always love coming to schools because that's where Australia's future is being made. And Narelle, I can tell that this is a great school, so thank you for having us here. And through you, if I could thank all of the staff of this school, all of our very precious teachers, and through them, all of the teachers in Australia for doing one of the most important jobs in our nation. Teachers are guiding our young people, they're guiding our future. And whatever else is happening in our country today, the most important thing that is happening in Australian schools, because the quality of your education today is going to define our future as a nation tomorrow. So I'm really pleased to be here. I'm particularly pleased to be here to talk about good quality teaching, to talk about favourite teachers, and to talk about a difference that they can make to the lives of young people. When I went to school in South Australia, I went to the local schools, to the local state schools. It's back in the days that schools were zoned, and if you were going to go into the state school system, you didn't really have much of a choice about which school you went to. School, a local primary school, a local high school. Lucky for me, they were great schools. And I've always reflected that my life would have been entirely different if I didn't have the opportunity of going to those great schools. I frequently say that education transforms lives. It transformed mine. And what built the opportunities that have defined my life started in the schools that I went to in Mitcham, in the Unley area in South Australia. But schools end up being about people, and particularly they're about teachers and that very special interaction between a great teacher and students. That's where the magic of education really is. And right around the country, I think that there are people who can think about a great quality teacher who's made a difference to their lives. I've been asked about my school days, and whenever I have been asked, I've been asked about teaching and people I remember, and I've always pointed to one teacher who made a real difference for my life, Mr. Crow in Mitcham Primary School, where I went as a child. Now, Mr. Crow was an older man, though one of the things you'll find that happens as you get older is you realise your teachers aren't quite as old as you think they are. So maybe on reflection, Mr. Crow wasn't quite as old as I remember him. But as a primary school student, I remembered him as an older man. He was also the deputy principal. You were a little bit scared of him because he was a good disciplinarian. He kept people, quiet and attentive and on task. But more than anything else, you were inspired by him. You were inspired because he wanted to transmit to his students a love of learning, and particularly a love of the English language, a love of literature, a love of books, of plays, of performing, of acting in plays, a love of poetry, a love of conjuring with words. And I will always remember that about my primary school days, the inspiration that Mr. Crow was for me as a young person who loved reading, but needed, like all young people, guidance in building on those skills and building on them for the future. He was a very special teacher for me, a favourite teacher. So, inspired by his example, as Prime Minister, I decided to ask the nation, who's your favourite teacher? I recorded some of my own reflections on my school days, and we posted them up, and we said to the nation, who's your favourite teacher? Who's making a real difference? Who made a real difference for your life? Doing the site, by liking the site, by posting their own comment. 20,000 people. And I'm sure that that represents an even bigger number that they stopped and had a conversation with and said, I'm thinking about sending something in on my favourite teacher. Who's your favourite teacher? So I'm glad that I've been able to start a conversation about the quality of teaching and about favourite teachers. And we got people who then submitted in their own words, people who, their teachers who they wanted recognised through this process. We got some from primary school age kids about a teacher. We got some from high school age kids about a teacher. We got some from people whose teaching days, learning days, were 40 years ago. It was 40 years since they were in school, but they wanted us to know that there was a great quality teacher who had made a difference for their lives. And out of all of those contributions, we had to decide which one was the best, and we said we'd come to the school with the winning entry, and we talked to that school about a favourite teacher who deserved recognition, and that's why I'm here today. So first, I'd like to call up to join me the student who actually sent in the winning entry, and that's one of your student leaders, well known to you, Rebecca Cross. Rebecca Knox. Rebecca Knox. Now, Rebecca is well known to you, and she's going to get a little book to mark her efforts. But Rebecca sent in an entry where she talked about an English teacher, and I'm going to use her words. She said that this English teacher was always willing to meet and provide helpful feedback, went above and beyond their great words to become a teacher. Rebecca also expressed a little bit of trepidation about Year 12 exams. How did they go?
They went very well.
They went very well. Good, good. That was a question I didn't know the answer to. That could have been a very dangerous question, but they went very well. So Rebecca is, I hope, looking forward to a career in teaching, and I want to thank her for participating in the Who's Your Favourite Teacher competition. Rebecca Knox, to acknowledge all of that. this is a book for you. I hope you enjoy it, and thank you for bringing a very special teacher today. Thank you very much.